Perflow explores topics around healthcare, well-being, oncology, and integrative medicine from the perspectives of Dr. Paul Chen, a UK-based general practitioner who has a specialist interest in well-being, lifestyle medicine, longevity, and cancer care, and Dr. Wafaa Abdelhadi, an integrative oncologist in Egypt who specializes in functional medicine and applied metabolic therapy. The content is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for personal medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. While we discuss evidence, professional experience, and reflective insights, listeners should always consult a qualified healthcare professional regarding any medical concerns or decisions about their health. Opinions expressed on the podcast are our own and do not replace guidance from your own healthcare providers. Every health journey is unique. We encourage listeners to take what resonates and seek support when needed. Well, welcome guys to the last episode of Perflow Season 1. My gosh, it's gone quickly, hasn't it, Wafaa?
Absolutely, and it has been like a game changer for me. I think like we're trying to be like honest with our listeners and with ourselves, that we do the
Yes.
self-care that we're supposed to be doing, so that we don't get into the burnt out and all the things associated with it that we have discussed throughout the episode in brief.
Absolutely. And I think the listeners will appreciate the fact that we are all humans. So we have our limitations and the good bits and the bad bits, but that's all part of life. So as always, we need to discuss about what we had planned to do from the previous episode. So Wafaa, we were talking about exercise. Have you
Yes.
done what you said you were going to do?
Well, I tried my best. So I went 3 days per week instead of 5 days, as because you always need to take a break. But I actually enjoyed those 3 weeks, and I'm looking forward into continuing to do that and making it more of a habit. And you told us, Paul, it takes 1 month to actually make it a habit. So I'm looking forward till the end of that month and see what happens.
Well, give or take a month, yes. There's some different studies. Right. And in my case, of course, we haven't gone on that walk yet. It's upcoming. So I'm really looking forward to touching base with you and Elliot face to face in due course. And we'll go out to that lovely English British tea as well afterwards, after the
Yes.
walk and the
Yeah.
social connection. So we're talking about happiness, or more like learning to be the happiest you. And I think, as the listeners will fully appreciate, it's very difficult to be able to define what happiness is, because I think it's a very subjective feeling. And of course, it may well be that some people associate happiness to having a holiday, but it may well be for some people they might like to go to the beach and go swimming, but others may hate the water and prefer to go to the mountains for a hike. And again, it's tricky because our values change over time, and that happiness in itself may be very different from you and me. So I think today we'll take a deeper dive in terms of what's useful in terms of the concepts of happiness, and take it from there, to be honest, because I think there's no black and white right or wrong answer here, but it's trying to learn how you operate, which clearly we've sort of hopefully empowered the listeners to some degree, some of these elements that you can lean into, but then we hopefully get you more happy. So happiness, Wafaa, how do you feel? Feel is probably the best word here. How do you feel about happiness?
About happiness or now?
Okay, well now, I mean, I'm in this dopamine kick already, so I'm quite
Yeah,
happy
I'm,
here.
I'm always happy when I speak with you, Paul, and being with Elliot as well. I think we do like a great team here, spreading our voices, the megahertz, throughout the world, as we mentioned. um, well, happiness is, I try to stay in a happy state of mind most of the time, and with the things that I've learned throughout the years. Experience makes you, it transforms you. So when you were a little, I was the happiest of my brothers and sisters. I was always like jumping around in the club. I would go to people like miles away just to tap on their shoulder and to say hello to them. And mom would say like, "Why would you bother just going mile away to say hello?" So, and then when I grew up, I became like more sane, of course, and I would just say hi to the people who actually is in front of me, and we make an eye contact. And then when you grow and then you get responsibilities, it actually loads you, especially when you go through medical school and you have the lack of sleep and you have the needy patients and you see like enormous amount of patients per day. But even with that stress, I was happy because serving people or helping, like it's a disease, like people who, when I help people, I become happy. But then there's a certain how do you say, tolerance to that. So when you keep helping people and then you don't have time to help yourself and to do that self-care that we're talking about, then you get a little bit like, why am I doing this? And you go into a curve of not depression but realization that I shouldn't be doing this to myself. Because if people wants to keep have access to me, if I want to help my family, because family always comes first, then I have to take care of myself. However, on the general aspects, or I am, alhamdulillah, thank God, a happy person. And I think that what makes me happy the most is my social connections. So whether online with you guys or on sites with my paddle friends, as we discussed last episode, or with now people I see at the gym. So social connections and the way that I'm starting to handle stress. So I used to rely solely on adaptogenic herbs, which worked perfectly for me. And I have several other friends using those adaptogenic herbs that we're going to talk about later in the other season. But now, after I keep remembering what Sir Christopher told me about stress being part of, like, it's a normal incident of the day. You just have to go through it without being stressed about it. So, I am, alhamdulillah, happy, and I hope everyone is happy too and satisfied about their life. The satisfaction actually and gratitude brings that happiness. If you're not satisfied about your life, whether you're stressed out or whatever, even if someone is like, I know someone, and I don't want to talk much, who has like type 2 diabetes, and he's very young, but he's very angry about having type 2 diabetes. So I told him, and I gave him like literature for Dr. David Unwin and websites, and to see that he can actually reverse type 2 diabetes, but he's so angry that he doesn't want to do the change.
Mm.
So it is a personality thing. When we, maybe if he exercised more, he will reduce his diabetes and he will have
It gives us hope.
yes, his hope hormones. And we're going to talk about the happiness hormones in a bit. But tell me, Paul, are you happy? What makes you happy? Etc.
Oh, these are big questions, and
Yes.
I'm sure the listeners will want to know. Yes, absolutely. Am I happy? Yes, 90% of the time, 99% of the times. I think there's some fluctuations. But one thing that I would like to share is that you mentioned Sir Christopher Wall, and the listeners may not know who he is. And I think it's quite a good thing for the listeners to know that we will have the pleasure of having him as one of the speakers, hopefully in season 2. And he's a chap. I shouldn't say chap. He's a wise gentleman who's now aged 90. He, very humble gentleman. I think age 67, decided that one day he would uh, basically train to run a marathon. He is probably one of the few people that I know who has the most discipline over his mind, over his body. And so not only does he start training for a marathon and succeed, he runs 10 marathons in 10 days. It's like the London Marathon, all the big ones. And at day 70, he even runs the Edinburgh Marathon. But the reason why I'm mentioning is not to mention the fact that he's amazing, but putting that aside, I have the privilege of seeing him on a weekly basis to talk about lots of things, from life to healthcare to climate change to education, everything. And does he make me happy? 100%. And I think, Wafaa, what you said, social connections, my gosh, I mean, I'm so privileged for the people that I've managed to surround myself with, and the universe or whatever that's enabled me or the universe being kind to me to be able to be in the company of great friends and family. One thing I would like to share is this idea also when we're talking about happiness is we mentioned very early on about the blue zones, and we'll probably take a deeper dive on it on season 2 or season 3. So blue zones are the 5 countries in the world that have the longest living people, so centenarians, of which one place is called Okinawa in Japan. And in Japan, there's this word, and the listeners may have heard a word called Ikigai. Iki means life, Gai means purpose, broadly speaking. But I think it's quite nice to map this out to get a bit of a flavor of this word and what it may mean to you. So it sort of broadly boils down to the idea of passion, mission, vocation, professionalism. So I'm going to slightly cheat because there's a bit of the details here. So in terms of the mission, it's what you love and what the world needs. That's the mission. For the vocation is what the world needs, what you can be paid for. In terms of professionalism, it's what you are good at and what you can be paid for, that intersection. And then for the passion is what you love and intersection between what you are good at. And right in the middle of that passion, mission, vocation, profession, that sweet spot is thought to be, broadly speaking, what we call Ikigai. And I think it's quite a nice way of mapping things out to say, well, if you've got a purpose and you've got all these elements to it, by all means, that should link into at least some elements of what we would define as happiness. And of course, if you think about the classical times, I mean, they've this concept about eudaimonia. It's quite interesting about what hedonic well-being and eudaimonic well-being. And the hedonic well-being focuses on pleasure and happiness. So it's like the dopamine kick and feeling good in the moment. Whereas the eudaimonic well-being sort of centers on meaning and self-realization. I think these concepts are quite interesting to note because there are other bits like logotherapy. So there's Viktor Frankl, who I think during the Auschwitz, he was a survivor who became a psychotherapist. And in terms of desperate situations to find meaning and purpose in those situations, again, feeds into happiness, I suspect. So the answer to your initial question, Wafaa, I think, am I happy? Yes. Do I try to seek happiness? Absolutely. Do I have hard moments? Absolutely. Stress is always a difficulty. I think serving others, I think you and I, correct me if I'm wrong, we do try to go above and beyond for our patients. And sometimes we may do that too much. And I think it's important, again, to strike a good balance and see what happiness means to you. So sorry, it's a long answer to a question, but it's not an easy one to answer. And I suspect that if you ask me that question a few years down the line, it may have changed slightly, but we shall see.
Yeah, I think like with the more we like grow wiser with more experiences, our perspective to everything in life changes. Hopefully to the
Mm.
better if you have the good intentions. Because when I was just hoping, I was just thinking about people who are actually like, if one of our listeners, God forbids, is maybe having a health issue, a health condition, like, and he's gonna like think like, how am I gonna be happy about this? So for instance, like we all know, I don't know why his name popped into my mind, but one of the happiest person or actors that I've seen in movies and have, we have all seen Michael J. Fox and Back to the Future, you know, and it always brings joy to us when we see that movie. But then now he's with Parkinson's, but did that break him down? No, he's doing charity, he's going to the, you know, the all the Oscars, stuff like that, mingling with people. Someone like Stevie Wonder, someone like in Egypt Ammar al-Shari'i. So they are like born blind, but they are one of the best composers that we have ever seen or heard in music. So it doesn't mean that you have an illness or a handicap that would prevent you from being happy. It just, we have to learn how to move beyond this. And some people that I've met actually who are saying like, Dr. Wafa, I'm so much happy that I'm afraid that I might lose this happiness. This is, do you get this conversation at clinic, Paul?
I think in the GP consultation of 10 minutes, we've recently changed to 15 minutes. It's quite a difficult topic to start opening up. I do mention saying sort of anchor on terms of, yeah, for all the other domains, but the social connections and do the things in terms of your hobbies, things that make you happy. I do try to put it in, but I don't often get the time to take a deeper dive of what are the things that make you happy. It's a hard one.
Yeah, but you know, like my consultations for 90 minutes makes you actually, I get those kind of questions. And I told them like you just have to live the moment. You don't need to look further into the future. And if you do the whatever the meds and optimize your lifestyle, you will prevent yourself from getting those diseases. And if you already have something that is preventing you from being happy, you just work on to being happy. Like, you know how I was struggling with this trauma, and then I actually sought a mental health therapist, and I feel much better. So it's not shameful if you have a problem that is actually
Mm.
preventing you from being happy, that you seek a professional. One of the things too, if we're going to talk science, then we talk about the happy hormones. So if we talk about the happy hormones, yeah, last episode we talked about exercise, how it actually induces the hope hormones, and actually they are actually the happy hormones as well. So dopamine, it makes you, it's the rewarding chemicals. When you complete a task, when you're doing self-care activities, you actually feel good about yourself. When you're eating good food, and when you celebrate even the little wins. And then you have oxytocin, which is the love hormone. And you can actually have that oxytocin when you, of course, all of this is when you play exercise, but you can also have it when you play with a dog, you play with a baby. You know, when a mother is nursing her baby and she actually puts her baby, naked baby, or her naked skin, she actually produces oxytocin, and actually that increases the milk flow. When you hold hand and you hug your loved ones, and you know those psychiatrists who actually uh, did things about like how you should hug your loved one for 10 seconds every
That's
day.
right.
Yeah. And then there's the serotonin. Of course, we talked about the serotonin and how it affects your sleep, etc., and that we should get some exposure. But it is a mood stabilizer. So you should like being in nature, hugging a tree. I hope that we will hug a tree. Of course, we'll have a lot of trees in Oxford that I will. So if you find me hugging the tree, I'm sure that in our Oxford longevity project community, they will not find me crazy. And then and then the last but not least one, the big ones of the happy hormones, is the endorphins, which is the painkiller. So laughing, exercising, dark chocolate, there are certain essential oils actually that increases the endorphins. And even people with arthritis, so inflammation in their joints, it does not stop you from doing exercise. I bet you if you do the right exercise, but you should consult your doctor first, your arthritis will get better. So it's wonderful how little things that you can do to your body so that you can be happy, and then you get better, and you then emit that loving and happy energy with the social connection surrounding you.
Yeah, I think it's yeah, you're so true. That's so true. I mean, I think what's going through my mind is just reminded my dog and brings me happiness. But also thinking in terms from my GP hat on, I mean, serving others means a lot to me. But also, I do know that a lot of the consultations, if I am as positive as possible and I bring that positive energy to that consultation, things go smoother and the patients look happier leaving the room. And of course, I put a joke in the mix, and I often tend to say, well, if they're like 60 or 70 years old, I say, oh, you've got another at least 30 more years before you get the letter from the king. I'm not sure if it still happens, but at age 100 in the UK, it used to be that you could get a letter from the Queen. And usually we end off with a bit of a laughter. And I'm sure patients then leave slightly happier for having come to see me, irrespective of whether I've given them the medication. And so it's just figuring out what floats for you, what resonates with you, and it's just surrounding yourself with happiness. And of course, we can agree that to say that not every day is going to be a good day. That's life.
Yes.
But even in the difficult moments, you can still feel happy. And I think that's really important to be aware of that, particularly when the chips are down. And that applies to all the other life domains and stuff that we're talking about. I mean, by all means, we can all understand the theory. And yes, by all means, listen to our podcasts and all the episodes. But it's actually there's the times when you're put in the corner spot, or where you're feeling excessively stressed and the chips are down. That's the time when you need to start implementing these things, and perhaps have non-negotiables to say, no, I know I'm veering off the wrong direction. My emotional bucket in terms of emotional physical resilience is dropping down. I'm not feeling as energized. I'm not really feeling that happy. I'm in that hedonic treadmill of life, where we're not getting that next thing. The next thing means that we're not having the time to reflect. And I know that you said at one of the episodes, it's really important to reflect. And I think that's really true, because I think from the listener's perspective, and both for myself and Wafaa, is if you take the time to reflect on who you are and how you operate, and upgrade your operating system so that you can be the happiest you, well, what's there to lose? Right? You may as well try to get yourself in that elevated state. I think you need to be a bit mindful about the dopamine, because as we all know, the dopamine kick in itself feels nice initially, but it then plummets down very quickly, and you can then feel a bit low as a result of it. But again, there's no harm in having small increments of drip feeding of dopamine to get you to that state, and then you do the stuff that really means something to you.
Remember, we did a very positive consultation together a few days ago, and our patient
Yes.
was very low, and like her doctor gave her a very bad prognosis. And because of our positivity, I think that she left the consultation very happy and eager to do the little changes that we asked her to do.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, Wafaa, I always find that your energy is so positive that even just listening to you, I feel happier for it. I say nice.
Thank you. I'm just happy because you're here. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think the listeners also need to find and surround themselves for whatever helps. Yeah. So it might be that if you like gardening, and of course in the UK the rain has stopped, touch wood that it remains so, you get a bit of time outside, get your friends to do a bit of gardening, or it might be the walks that you go together, or you might be listening to the music, or it might be a bit of dancing. Anything. I think it's very difficult to take happiness in isolation. I think they're all linked to a lot of things, and the ultimate goal is in life, at least for me at the moment, is when people say what's really important, I think it is about being happy and quality of life. And I think those, to a certain degree, and love, I guess, but they trump everything else. And I think having that knowledge at the forefront and being grounded by gratitude makes it slightly easier for that journey and to reaching that. And yeah, being the better you.
Yes, absolutely. Let me tell you something that's funny happened to me actually 2 days ago. So we were invited at we have a psychiatrist who is married to a psychiatrist as well, but he's for adults and she's
Oh,
okay. And whenever like we go out together, I think that I'm having like involuntarily like a psychotherapy session. And
okay.
the difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist, the psychiatrist is the one who actually went through medical school and then ended up being a psychiatrist. So that the listeners would know the difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist. So we were just having this. So I'm an oncologist, husband neurosurgery, two neurologists, one vascular surgeon, and another clinical pathologist. So we were having iftar in Ramadan together. And then after the iftar, we were just having tea. And then he was telling us, especially me and my husband, like, please don't be the yes man. And whenever someone asks you something, you have to say no. So I told him, like, but I can't say no. Like, this is against my nature. But he said, like, please say no, or you will end up like losing yourself because you keep doing things that are unnecessary. You will not have any benefit out of them. But because of your kind nature, you always say yes, and people get advantage of you. So my neurologist friend talk to my husband. So I told him like, so you're not going to come to the conference next week? He said no, because my other psychiatrist friend said so. But then he ended up going because he's his best friend. But the thing is that being happy, like, I love the Yes Man movie. Everybody saw the Yes Man movie, and what he did is amazing. But it's just we have to be mindful about our time, about our capability, and just put yourself first. Put your oxygen mask first, please. And I believe that like the Ikigai you mentioned, if we have Ikigai, sorry, oh my God, what is Ikigai? Anyway, you are the Japanese expert here. So if you have purpose in life, if you do it with passion, and if you are mindful about what you're doing, I think we will reach happiness, whether no matter what situation we are in. And we have to be, if we have like some hardship, we just have to take a pause, reflect, and get that happiness back, because it's the only thing that will get us through anything at the end of the day.
So just one thing is the one that we need to talk about, don't we, in terms of what are we going to do. One thing I wanted to share, because obviously you just had that moment. I remember only last week I was the duty doctor, which means I'm sort of dealing with lots and lots of patients, and it was coming to near the end, and I had some messages on my WhatsApp, and I had some of my closest friends by chance message me, and I looked at it when I had that moment between patients, and I suddenly felt recharged, and I could feel all those happy hormones going, oh my God, that's really nice. Just knowing that my friends are there in those moments where I'm sort of trying to navigate all the issues that are other people's issues. Anyhow, so on that note, what am I going to do? So mine's really easy. For my happiness is, for the listeners, you'll love this, is making sure that we can continue these podcasts into season 2, season 3, and being with you guys, Wafaa, Elliot. I mean, this is amazing. Every time we do these podcasts, my God, I feel so happy, even from the day before. So that knowledge itself is power. And yes, I hope we can carry on doing these together. And
Yes.
Wafaa?
Well, you stole my thoughts, Paul. But but I'm happy that you are happy with us being together, and that makes me happy.
So
It's a
win-win.
vicious circle. It's a vicious circle. Yeah, but I would love to. What makes me happy is also cooking, especially for my children, and so I think I should go back into cooking, and I have my best friend's cooking book, The Ketogenic Kitchen, which actually saved a lot of people. It has delicious, very good nutritious recipes that I should be actually. It's about time that I start experimenting with it more oftenly. So the avocado one was from her, the flaxseed cracker was from her, the pesto sauce, very nutritious pesto sauce with walnuts, basil is from her. So I just need to, I think, open that book and leave it in the kitchen wide open, and it's green. It gives you positive energy.
Excellent. So on that note, listeners, we want you to learn to be the happiest you. We're going to be very excited to say that we will have a season 2, and we really look forward to, yes, you becoming our listeners moving forwards for endless seasons. And I know Wafaa sent her love. I send my love to the listeners, and we will say bye for now.
Bye.